Without further ado, I want to introduce our main speaker for this evening. Her name is Pamela Eaton, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about yourself. We're so glad that she is donating her time and talents tonight to share this important issue and help people hopefully identify a plan of action and also resources in their area. So thank you, Pam.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good evening. I'm going to share a little bit about water safety, accessing your community's aquatic spaces in the safest way possible, as if you haven't already been maybe partaking in that this summer. So a little bit about myself. I have been a career swim coach for more than 17 years with USA Swimming. I've been the head age group coach of teams from Northern California on down here to Southern California, and I just left that in April. My experience spans beginner, learn to swim, adult, and on through Olympic trial qualifiers. My motto is, it's never too late to learn to swim. Swimming is not just a sport, it's a necessity, especially here living in Southern California, so close to the water. Career-wise, I have recently segued from career swim coach and trainer to special day class instructional aide within a moderate severe classroom in the Solana Beach School District. As I will always have a passion for the water, I continue to teach swim lessons on my time outside the classroom. Watching people of all ages become water safe and more confident is why I continue to teach swim year round. So on to statistics. So I think we jumped ahead a little bit. That's okay. Yeah, we're back a little bit. So statistics, I work with those with disabilities in the classroom and water. Oh, I'm sorry, Maura, you might have been right. You are right. It was just last summer that I vividly recall a grandfather with an autistic granddaughter mentioning that more autistic children drown than their non-autistic counterparts. This is because about half, 48%, according to the National Autism Association, with an autism spectrum disorder, attempt to elope from their safe environments, and they're very drawn to the water. This rate is nearly 4 times higher than their unaffected siblings. In 2017, which was the latest year for which stats are available, California closely followed Florida, Texas, and Arizona in fatal childhood drownings. Drowning is among the leading causes of death for children with autism. Children can drown right in front of your eyes in as little as 10 feet away, according to the CDC. Often drownings occur in one's own backyard, their neighbors, or that of their friends. Of course, children's eyes are enticed by the water, waves, play pads, and all. This is why we especially need to always have our eyes on our children and also be sure they are water safe. Let's prevent drowning. Awareness, you always want to inform staff. You also want to obey rules and encourage your kids to do so. Your rules around the water and in public, as well as the facilities rules. Always identify weather and water before getting in the water. It is always wise to advise staff, particularly the lifeguards who are going to be there to help you and your child with your disability. This is anything from autism where they can help you to if you need help getting in the water, if you need a chairlift or assistance from the aquatic staff specifically. But by identifying what you need, it helps the staff to better be able to identify potential hazards for your child and assist in their safely having fun while at the facility and water's edge. This knowledge also helps the staff keep your child safe while not feeling that your child is blatantly ignoring them when it comes to rule following and the safety of all others around them. While around any water, be it pool, water park, beach, lake, your eyes should always be on your child. It takes just seconds to drown. It is your utmost responsibility to keep your own child safe, as well as assist the staff in keeping your child safe. Being water safe, I think we're on to, perfect, thank you. Being water safe. It's always being willing and eager to get in the water with your child. Practice patience. Learning swimming takes lots of patience. And for some, that's a lot more than others. However, the water is one of the best therapies for anybody with a disability, whether that is physical or mental. Water is very therapeutic. Swim lessons are the best way for your child to learn to become more comfortable in the water. The YMCA offers various lessons. Some are supposedly specific for those with disabilities. Therefore, your local YMCA may be a great resource or a place to start. Whatever you do, don't ever turn your back on your child when in, near, or around any body of water. All right, so let's look at what you should bring. Sunblock, sunblock, sunblock. Most of our pools here and water facilities are outdoors in Southern California. So you want to cover up with sunblock always before heading to the water. It always helps to show up already prepared. Also, sunblock takes time to absorb, and often facilities advise you to shower before entering their water. So you don't want all that block coming off that you just put on. Yes, you still need to bring the block along with to reapply. Reapply every couple of hours, especially after toweling off. A sunburn will ruin everyone's fun. It'll be done for the day if you get a bad enough sunburn. In addition, bring comfortable attire and a change of clothes. Layers are good to have for covering up from the sun, as well as if we have any weather changes. Diapers, this one's really important. There are diapers made specifically for the water. These diapers come as disposable as well as reusable, so you have options, but you do not want to get in the water with a regular diaper that is not meant for the water. It will expand and the contents will not be contained any longer. So you do want to make sure you have the right diaper and the right fit. I suggest doubling up when heading to the water. It's never, bad to be safe, better safe than sorry. Some pool facilities even make people double up when it comes to wearing diapers at the water. The last thing anyone wants is for their child's accident to close the facility for everyone. It takes a lot for that facility to turn around after such an incident. Some close for the entire day. So even if your child is potty trained, if you think there's a chance they may have an accident, just play it smart, play it safe, put a diaper on, and everyone will be happy. While at the water, it is also imperative to stay hydrated. Always bring along plenty of cold water and healthy snacks, but be sure you only eat while you're not in the water. You shouldn't be eating while you're in the water. Other things to pack and bring along: towels, additional clothing, sunglasses, goggles, and hats. You can never have too many dry towels or clothes. Sunglasses and hats also help protect you from the sun. Goggles are a choice, but they very often assist when learning to swim. Kids don't like opening their eyes often without the goggles. They are also, on the other hand, very particular about the style and fit of their goggles. So you want to make sure that the goggles are something you try ahead of time and make sure they work before you bring their kid to the lesson. Lesson time gets eaten up really fast, and you don't want the majority of the lesson to be spent with the teacher, instructor, fitting the goggles and helping your child with the comfort of the goggles if it could have already been taken care of in advance. Paradowski Swim Shop, I believe it's off the 52 off Convoy, is a great place to shop goggles because they let you take them out of the package, try them on. No, you're not in the water at the time, but you can get a pretty good feel of what works for your child's face and purchase them right there. In conclusion, you just want to be patient, prepared, attentive always around any body of water anywhere. And there are some things that I didn't cover. I spoke a lot about autism and some preparedness that I believe Mara is going to touch on, but there are things such as beaches that have better access for those in chairs. There are plenty of options, but it's good to know where to go. Most pools, I think actually all public facilities have to have chairs and an assistance to help your child or your person in the water that needs that. But again, you just have to speak to the staff to get assistance with that. But the beaches, I do see plenty that you can wheel up pretty close now on the sand, which is nice. Also nice for those of you with the strollers getting out on the beach and beach access. So thank you for your time. If you have further questions, I am more than happy to answer them. I posted some sources. And I think here in Southern California, there's plenty of options for lessons. I teach all summer, and a lot of my friends are all booked up that are teaching all summer as well. So
Awesome. I want to thank you, Pam. Actually, I have questions. Also, I'm gonna kind of start out and do some questions about like for a swim teacher. My first question as a mom, way long ago, was how early should I start my child, and is there such a thing as too early to introduce my child to the water?
I think I started as a child, probably elementary school age. And my sister was probably more toddler age because she's 2.5 years younger than I am. And my mom took us in summer. I grew up in Massachusetts, so we just swam summer until we got a little bit older. But as somebody who that's been my career, when my sister had her son, my nephew, I brought him to Murray Callan. It's kind of like those other Aquapros and ones you hear about that are for babies, because I know that the pool I was working at wasn't warm enough for a baby. You really want hot water for a baby. So I took him and did the lessons with him, as well as my sister took some of the lessons with him. And it's pretty much a back and forth method. I think they take him as early as 3 months. I put him on a list so that he was good to go at 3 months. And he loves the water, and he's 6 now. But I think the earlier they get in and the more comfortable they feel, it's pretty much just a back and forth with a parent. They definitely have to have someone in the water with them at that age.
Oh, yeah.
But the temperature is huge. I work with some small ones now, and even in summer, if their pool water isn't 84 or higher, which we're thinking, seems like a hot bath, it's not very comfortable for a baby.
So I'm going to give some scenarios and how a parent can support them. If you have a youngster who is super excited, but then doesn't actually want to get in, like they're just kind of one of those edge grippers, like they pop in and then they want to get right out and they want to get in and out. Is there something that you'd recommend for a family to try? Or have you worked with anyone who
I've done it for so long, and I did have a 5-year-old this summer that the sister, who was a few years older, got in and swam fine, and that 5-year-old screamed as though I was murdering her. I've never heard someone scream louder. And at that age, I was a little bit terrified because they have a backyard pool.
Okay.
And so if she's that terrified to put her head in, you also can't learn how to swim without putting your head in the water. So also, she's the only one I've had do that to me this summer. I did have a toddler who was more the stranger danger because she was an only child, kind of freak out for half of her first lesson, and now she gets in with me no problem. I think it's more kind of how pets can feel if you're anxious and not comfortable with them. Kids get that same vibe. So if you're being, like I said, impatient, when I said patience is everything for the parents as well as the instructor, they can feel your energy. And if your energy's off, you're having a bad day, you might not have a great day of lessons, and detrimental to your students. But it also, parents can leave the scene. So it just depends. Some parents don't like to listen to their kid cry, so they'll leave. And obviously, as an instructor who's done it for a long time, you know how long you should wait before you bring the child out of the water, because you don't want to terrify them. At the same time, some parents get in the water with you, and that works as a back and forth. The autistic granddaughter that I taught last summer, grandpa started by getting in with us, and she was only a couple years old. She was pretty small, so she was pretty happy going back and forth. She was more stranger danger with me at first, and then eventually for her therapists and such elsewhere told grandma and grandpa not to get in with me any longer, and she was comfortable, and we went from there. So it's kind of a touch and go with each specific case and knowing your audience. And
so in terms of, I have a question like I've had kids go to swim lessons and I've had them make various kinds of progress. And I remember thinking, like, what should I expect? Like, how fast should I expect them to progress? Like, should they be able to float at a certain point? Like, what is it that we are doing that tells us we're successful? Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of, you bring them to swim lesson, and what is there, like an order that skills come out? Are there like benchmarks that you look for as a swim instructor that tells you that a child's making progress, I guess is what I'm looking for?
So that's actually one of my favorite questions, and it's kind of two-part.
Okay.
first thing I always teach is safety, because here we are trying to prevent drowning, right? So I don't care if you ever become an Olympian. I don't care where you take swimming. I care about your safety first and you not being in a situation where you drown. So I teach basic floating. I teach, if they fall in the water, you want them to be able to turn to their back to float. So it's really important that they can get comfortable and float on their back, because then you have air if you are on your back versus face down. And then it's finding the nearest, locating the nearest edge or stairs that they can get to. And then you teach them to walk along the wall, whether different instructors call it crab walk or choo-choo train. People call it different things, but walking till they can actually stand and get themselves to safety. So I do have some lessons. One I actually taught today, that the mom was wondering why I kept having them swim a few strokes to me and then roll to their back. Well, that's two-part, because if they can float on their back and find safety, then I'm not going to have someone drown. The other part is when they're small, they can't put together side breathing with a stroke. It's just very rare that you're going to see a really small swimmer get that coordination. So by having them roll to their back after a few strokes, then they can get air again and go again from there.
Sit down.
There's
Smile,
no,
sit.
there's no answer for everyone. Every child, every adult, every student is different, right? You see kids go into all kinds of sports. So by saying, how long before my kid's going to be swimming well? Well, that really can vary, because your kid might have a great lesson today, and then the next couple of weeks, they look like they never had a lesson before, and we're starting over. Kids grow, they change, their comfort changes. So there really is no knowing. It's just keeping them, the more they can be in the water and the more they can practice and take lessons, the better. But not everybody's going to be Michael Phelps. And some are going to take a lot longer than others to learn.
Yeah, thank you. I like the way you broke down the steps of, first you get your head up and roll over, look for where to go. I mean, that's very, it seems to make sense, but then I'm sitting there going, I would never have been able to break it into those steps. So that's really helpful. I am going to attempt to share without oversharing. We're going to see if it actually works. And if anybody else has any questions, I can, happy to, let's see, did it work? Are you seeing my slides? So you should see a fabulous accessible beach slide. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes and we're going to go back to Pam and then get Lisa in here. And Lisa, feel free to pop in if you want on any of these slides. So first thing is I talked about beaches, and obviously they're in San Diego County. And so I want to mention, especially for Stacy, that we have slides coming your way. So you don't have to worry about writing or trying to catch these links right now. But really just giving beaches, accessibility, and more accessibility. So I have two different links because one of them gives you extraordinary detail that you would probably only want if you really needed that link. But it's really helpful to know how many resources are out there. Imperial, woohoo! This is sponsored by the Autism Support of Imperial County. There are these sessions. They are still, I think, taking people, at least when I last checked, and a fantastic resource. I can't imagine that they're going to be not kind if you call and inquire, Stacy. Also, splash pads. This is such a phenomenon that I'm so jealous my kids were not little when these became all the rage, because this is, I don't know about Lisa, but this would have been like such an awesome option to having me have to get in a suit and be ready to, pull children out of the water. So this is one option in El Centro. I wanted to make sure that we had lots of resources. So we have City of Imperial with, I'm highlighting the Friday nights at the pool because those sounded super fun and a way to really get that community access and having everybody's children able to interact with everyone and out in the community. And then the following resources, I want to just call out Emily Jolton and San Diego Family Magazine. They have a special needs resource list, which I just recommend in general to everybody. Emily, every single year, calls and checks all the links she puts out, does a request for any new businesses or organizations that have formed. Like, she just does an amazing amount of work on this. And so the ones I'm about to list mostly come from Emily and San Diego Family Magazine. So in San Diego, there are a number of options. I want to particularly talk to the Aquapro Swim School is one that definitely offers adaptive swim lessons. I'm not going to read them all aloud, but that's certainly one. And I believe that pool is an indoor and pretty warmed pool, as my recollection goes, so that they can really handle younger children. We have a number of other schools, including Murray Callan. I think, Pam, you had mentioned that school. And then some others down below, and yet more. And I did want to note that on this slide, which is slide 9, we have Pam's email address. So if you do have any questions, want to follow up with Pam, that's her contact information. And then also there's us at Exceptional Family Resource Center, and that will of course be in your slide deck that you received. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can get big again.
Those are great.
Anyway, so now we're all back. Stacy, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I am going to invite my friend Lisa to talk about how she introduced swimming and water to her children, especially being like when Pam was talking, I kept thinking, oh yeah, I should be on my kids all the time. But luckily I only had one at a time to mostly worry about, but I ended up having 5. But Lisa, talk about how you managed to get this done.
Well, we did do the Aquapros in Claremont. And I also happen to have a very good friend, Lisa Duffy, who worked with them in her backyard pool and taught them to float on their backs and eventually get over to the side of the pool. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is. Because I've had one of my sons elope and end up in a neighborhood pool. He crawled over the fence and we couldn't find him. And we found him swimming in the neighborhood pool. And if he didn't know how to swim, he would have drowned. And we got lucky that time. I also have experience with the Bridge to the Beach. I've been involved with that since it first began. My daughter volunteered for them, and that's a wonderful resource. That's a wonderful program. So if anybody's ever hears about that and wants to get involved, it was just last week, for this summer. You're muted, Maura.
It wouldn't be a presentation with me if somebody didn't say that into the tape. Anyway, no, it's okay. Do you want to explain who puts that on? Because I think there's several versions.
Well, the Bridge to the Beach, Autism Tree partnered with the San Diego Junior Lifeguards. My daughter was a junior lifeguard, and they're wonderful. The director had a child with autism, and he wanted to include him in all the fun that they have down there. And they work with the little kids. They'll accept the little kids. It's free of charge, and it's every summer. And I don't think they've ever turned a kid away. So, and if they need to have 2 kids and the parent supervises, and there's 2 junior lifeguards with that child, that's what they'll do. And the kids come back year after year after year. And so in the spring is when I would contact the junior lifeguard program and talk to them about what week that's going to be and to sign up your child. find out the information every spring, find out. And it was, like I said, it was just last week. So it's sometime in July every summer. One thing I will say about, as a parent, taking my child to a beach or pool, put your child in the brightest color rash guard you can find, because invariably you're down on at your phone. It's a habit. You look up and there you can't see for the sea of blue rash guards in the ocean with the sun shining. Make it sure it's neon orange or bright red or something, because you blink and where's my kid? And that's like it in the pool too. And also call your kid out, call yourself out. I sing my children's disabilities to everybody I encounter when I am out in public, when I am anywhere, at the beach, at a pool, anywhere. I explain my children and I ask if anybody, can, be patient with us, because children with autism make different noises, or might have a meltdown. And I have 100% met with lovely people, want to always tell me about their friend who has a child with autism. And it's absolutely something I recommend to everyone, because you will find more help and more support than you ever thought that you could find.
And I would say that for any disability,
Yeah.
Not just autism, but I mean, sometimes it's easier for people to not necessarily think that there's just bad behavior going on. but I think being able to ask for help, I mean, most moms, a mom asks for help or a dad asks for help, you're gonna try to help.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have any? We've done a lot of going to the pool, and how do you handle going to a pool, or do you mostly try to just do the beach? I didn't know.
Well, I don't go alone because I have two. One adult on each kid, and that's the way it's going to have. It needs to be with my situation. You really have to front load everything. You have to front load the conversation with your kids. You have to be ready to walk out the door before they even see their bathing suit, because they get so excited. And, I have everything ready to go. My shoes are on, I'm ready to go. And if I pull out those bathing suits, the clothes come off. And kids, they want to go to the pool. They want to go, they know every pool. I have pool connections between here and the border. And the beach is wonderful. They love going to the beach, and they just love to roll in the waves. They love that feeling of rolling in the waves and enjoying the ocean. And I encourage everybody to do that. It's wonderful. It's wonderful for everyone. And certainly your child with a disability can enjoy that just as well as any other child. But front load it, be prepared before you think you need to be extra prepared. And if any parent doesn't have a disability placard for their car, get one. So you don't have to walk really far with your child and the stuff that you need. And I had to ask for one because my kids could walk, but the developmental disabilities that they had made it very difficult for transport. They needed to, because there's other cars and people and everything. And you just really need to plan, but enjoy it, because I those are some of my favorite memories, especially when they were younger.
Well, and isn't it the case all the time that we work to give a skill, and then we're like, oh, now you like it too much. Stop liking it so much. We need to take it easy and get out the door. I was going to say, when I go to the pool, because the beach is one thing and going to a family kind of pool, but I certainly remember feeling like my kids were always the one breaking the walk that you must walk, no running. And my kids were always like skipping and prancing and, sashaying, and we were always getting screamed at. And so I do have to say that when I would march straight over to, we started just marching straight to the lifeguard. Hi, we're the Albritons. You're going to be your new nightmares for the next, hour that we can be here. But really saying, you know what, don't bother yelling at this one. They're not going to look at you in the eye. Like, just yell mom and I'll be right there. I'll know my kid's doing something wrong and I will intervene. But that was so much more successful than us trying to like be all suave.
Yeah.
Fake
until you make it. No, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, there was no
when
faking.
they run across like the teenagers, towels and get sand all over total strangers, you just say hi.
Yeah. And then there was I was going to say, as we go down memory lane, there's the naked years where there was this. So I'm going to double up on what Lisa said, which is even if you think you can handle it by yourself, there's going to be the time where you can't hold the towel circular around the, child that suddenly needs to get out of that wet swimsuit. So going with a buddy is just, I think it makes it more fun for you and safer for the kids. And, I really encourage that. One other thing that just crossed my mind and then left it. So now I'm going to look at Lisa and say, what was I going to say? It was a really good point. Oh, I know what it was. So there's a lot of comorbidity with epilepsy and seizure disorders and a lot of our developmental disabilities. And so just something else, I would be remiss if I didn't make this little epilepsy plea, which is really, 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 if you have someone that has a history of seizures, you really have to have not just a person for them, but a person in the water with them. They don't have to be like glued to them like Velcro, but really making sure that there's a responsible adult. Family outings, I think that's another time where it's real easy to let down your guard and think somebody else is on them, but particularly with that, with seizure disorders, not to be complacent. And that goes for bathing even. So that's my 2 cents on that. I'm a little Debbie Downer for that, but anyway, I'm trying to think, Stacy, we've kind of chit-chatted now for a little bit. Is there anything we may have missed, or anybody else? Joe, Mario, feel free to pop in.
The seizures is a good one. I was coaching a swim team and a child who had seizures. Luckily, never happened while she was in practice, but the mom used to leave the pool and I never knew that she had a disorder. That would be nice to have known that, heaven forbid something had happened. Obviously, I still would have responded either way, but it would have been nice to know, okay, I'm pulling them out of the water. This is something that they
regularly and to have the protocol for that seizure.
That's why I say, parents, wear your family's disabilities proudly for the world to see. Your children have every right to access pools and beaches and enjoy everything every other child, every other adult enjoys, and with just a few extra plans. And so make it happen, but make it happen safely.
Well, and I guess my other comment along that lines is like, whatever you do, like behaviorally, as your child ages to elicit good behavior, it's like carry those same skills where you go into the community, and if that's the beach, if that's the pool. But the other thing that we found was just how it got to be not just behavior plans at there, but being able to use water as a reinforcer. Like, if we can do this, this, and this, if we can go to the doctor and do a good job at the doctor, and then we can go to the beach, or we'll drive by the beach. I mean, sometimes even just looking at the beach is good enough. Like, they get that, they like it in so many ways. So anyway, it's another comment, rambling that I can be.
It was interesting. My daughter had a speech delay when she was younger, and we got her into swimming when she was about 4 years old. And it's interesting that you said that, Pamela, because we were quite frustrated that she wouldn't keep her face in the water and learn to stroke. And she would kind of like swim a couple of strokes and then sit upright and tread water and breathe, and then swim a couple of strokes. And she eventually got it just at once swimming lessons ended and she became more comfortable in the water. But it was definitely, we had to adjust our expectations. And we similarly were asking questions like, hey, shouldn't she already be able to like breathe out one side and keep going or whatever? And it was a bit of a learning experience for us as well.
Of course.
And I was going to say, seeing that cute baby reminded me of back in the old days, and this is like 1900s, 1990s, thank you. But Easter Seals used to have a program at Children's Hospital here in San Diego. And I used to put on my swimsuit for the mommy and me part and go take children to it. And it had the warm water like you talked about. But I was going to say, how many of us know Motorboat? Do we know Motorboat? Please tell me we all
still use it to teach. Yes.
I was going to say, can we have a motorboat demonstration? Because Stacy needs to have Motorboat. I feel like this is my job on the earth, is to give it to a new mom, make sure she knows Motorboat. So Pam, go ahead.
I take their hands and kind of take them in a little circle, sort of similar to doing Ring Around the Rosie, which I also do to get them underwater. And we just sing Motorboat, goes so slow. And then you have them blow slow bubbles. And then I say Motorboat goes so fast, and then you want them to blow really fast bubbles. So it's about just learning to breathe in the water.
And of course, now there's Baby Shark.
Babies love songs, so.
So that's the recommendation.
Don't think as a parent, if you have children with a disability, that you're going to be able to avoid water, avoid swimming, avoid that, and you're going to keep them safe. And this is how you're going to keep them safe. You're not. Be proactive with the swim lessons and access those splash pads. And even if you have to carry them into the middle of the splash pad and let them enjoy the world, please be proactive. You can't protect them from that. Let them enjoy it. You'll see your children grow from these experiences. So I implore anybody to take advantage of what's offered out there in the community, or make your own opportunities to let your children enjoy the world and water.
So thank you, because that's what these children are more drawn to, and it's so therapeutic. The water is so therapeutic that why would you not want your child to be enjoying the water, especially where we live? We're surrounded by it. For them to be comfortable and have fun.
I am just so appreciative of all the people tonight. I know it's a small but mighty group, and hopefully this will be available for others to enjoy.